All right, man. Hey, we got Spike Albrecht on today. He is with the Repham Group talking about Art of Drawers. We're going to talk a little bit of sports too because, well, I just can't help myself on that. So, Spike, thanks for coming on, man. How you doing today?
Yeah, doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. So, tell us a little bit just to get started here about what your journey has been. You haven't been in franchise. We both have been in franchising about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Both of us have done a little bit of stuff before the franchising world. So, tell us a little bit about what you were doing before franchising and how you got into this industry.
Yeah. Interesting journey. I kind of stumbled into it. But I had been coaching basketball probably the last 4 or 5 years. So I mean, as you know, like my background, a sports background, kind of grew up hooping. That's mostly what I've done. So transition into coaching, had been doing that for like the last 4 or 5 years, most recently at Purdue University. And then I turned about 30 and I was like, okay, I need to figure this out and decide what I want to do. I wasn't making a lot of money, and that life can be a grind, as you know. So I transitioned out of hoops and just started networking, talking with folks, figuring what else was out there. And I connected with a guy named John Rachi from Franworth, former Michigan alum. He played football there. So he just started introducing me to folks, and I was learning about the industry, connected me with the guys here at Repham. And as I learned about what this industry actually entails, from like the franchise development side, the consultant side, and just the more I was learning about the process and what it is that I'd be doing each and every day, I was like, okay, I could see myself enjoying this and actually doing well. And that's what it's all about for me. Like I have to do something I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and helping others and taking them through the process definitely falls in line there. So it's been a really good experience so far. I know I'm still relatively new, but it's been a good experience.
That's great. And I'm curious for you being in the sports world as a player, as a coach. I'm sure there's elements of that you miss and that you don't miss, but
Yeah.
I would imagine there's a little bit of overlap between the coaching world, the basketball world, and franchising. So, are you able to connect the dots at all between what makes someone a successful coach or player, and what makes someone a successful franchisee or franchise consultant or franchise development person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple keys. I think first and foremost for all of us, like you got to be willing to wake up and put in the time and put in the work. Like nothing comes easy. Communication, whether it's myself with you guys as franchise consultants or with, the candidates and potential franchisees, like constant communication, just being genuine and authentic. And then for franchisees, as they're getting going, and I think, what makes them successful is just following the plan, right? It's about executing a game plan. There's systems and processes in place, but you got to wake up and do the work. And then you got to be resilient. Like I think sports taught me a lot. You have a lot of wins and losses, and sometimes it's hard to handle failure. But the folks who continue to get up each and every day and they show up and just keep working, like just keep getting a little bit better and better every day. I feel like people in my role, your role, franchisees who just continue to get up and attack it will see success and at some point.
The resilience is a good one, and as a football coach myself, that's something we talk a lot about.
Yeah.
Being able to go 1-0 in everything that you do.
Yep.
Go a little bit deeper on that for me. What does resilience look like in the role of specifically a franchisee?
Yeah, I think there's lots of up and downs, right? Um, Franchise ownership. I'm sure the first couple months it's a little bit of that honeymoon phase, but it's a roller coaster, like anything else. I mean, my job, I have good days, bad days. I'm sure you do as well. But franchisees for sure, like it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be tough times. There's going to be hard conversations. Things aren't always going to go right, but it's the people who continue to wake up and get after and just keep showing up. And the nice thing about franchising, and as you know, is you have a plethora of resources at your disposal. So like leverage those resources, leverage the corporate team. I tell people as I'm taking them through the process, I'm like, hey, you're buying into a system and spending a lot of money for a reason. There's going to be times when you struggle. I mean, that's in every walk of life and in anything you do. But I'm like, ask questions, ask for help. Some people aren't quite willing to be vulnerable. But I think that's a big piece of it, especially in the franchise world.
Definitely. Well, and your story is a lot of resilience, man. And I know as your friend. You don't lead with Spike Albrecht, the Michigan man, and the Hooper. And so I'm not gonna embarrass you or put that out there too much. But I know really, one of your one of the highlights of your career at Michigan was that national championship game against Louisville, where there's some guys who got into foul trouble, and you were thrust into the action, really made the most of it. I'm curious to hear just a little bit about, from your perspective, what that night was like, what that journey was like, hearing your name called and making the most of it, and how you can maybe connect that experience with the experience of a franchisee who has put in the work, gets their shot as a business owner, and has the opportunity to make the most of it.
Yeah. So just, quick backstory. I'll try to wrap it all up and bring it together. But like coming out of high school, I had 0 Division I offers. So I was definitely an under-recruited, under the radar type guy. I went to prep school for a year, worked out really well, went out to Northfield, Mount Hermon on the East Coast, got some exposure. And then a year later, I'm at the University of Michigan. So played in a national championship my freshman year, and we ended up playing on Monday night, going to the national championship. I had a pretty good game. But yeah, I tell people all the time, like that just didn't happen. Like I got thrown into that moment. It just didn't happen overnight. I mean, that was, 15, 16 years worth of work. I had put in the time, I had put in the hours from a sports perspective. Right. And I tell people when they ask me about that game, like, how did I go in and perform at that level? I just tell them preparation breeds confidence. So, and I think that applies to all walks of life, right? Preparation breeds confidence. I went out there, I was able to contribute and do what I did. It wasn't just a fluke. Sure, it was a one-off, but like I was ready for the moment because of the work I had put in. So I was confident to go out there and trust in my work and my skill. And I think it's no different with franchising or business ownership, or really any job, school, right? I tell young kids, like, if you don't study for a test, or if you don't do any homework or any of the assignments leading up to that test, I was that student, I'm probably going to bomb it. Like I can't go out there and fake it. You can't fake the work. Like you have to put in the work, put in the time. Some people, they're unicorns. They have like the natural ability to just go out there and, schmooze their way into success. But most people can't do that. And I think franchising is no different. Like you got to put in the time and put in the work to reap the rewards.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. I know that, again, that's not something that you lead with, and you, that I just think there's a lot of parallels there, and that's cool. Sure. I appreciate you sharing that for sure. And after your playing days, I know you had the chance to coach with Matt Painter at Purdue, who they just have gone on a pretty awesome run, and they're getting a lot of press right now. I'm sure you got a lot of exposure in Purdue's program into how they recruit and to what they look for when they bring on players. Who is the prototypical Purdue basketball recruit? And what characteristics does that recruit share with the ideal franchisee?
Yeah, that is such a great question, man. Because as you were like asking it, I was already thinking how this translates to franchising. So I love it. Well, for Purdue, it always helps if they can recruit a 7'5" guy.
Yeah, that never hurts, right?
He seems to get a lot of them. But no, honestly, like Coach Paint, he's a lot different than a lot of the other high major coaches. He recruits people and players that fit his system and fit his culture, right? And that's how they're able to have sustained success year over year over year. Like they don't go out and get a bunch of 4 stars and 5 stars. Like they aren't getting the best caliber players because, they may be really talented in their own unique way, but they don't fit into the system that Coach Painter is building. And you've seen teams in college basketball who have really good players, individual players, and they don't have a ton of team success. So like that is not Paint. That is not what he's looking for. And I think that's a great translation to franchising. I know it's something we work really hard at, you work really hard at, is connecting people with the right brands and the right franchisors. Because just because you're not, you may not be the right franchisee for Art of Drawers doesn't mean there's not a brand out there for you that you could be uber successful with. So finding potential franchisees and candidates that fit your culture and align with your vision and values is super important. And that's one of the values we look for at Rep'em and at Art of Drawers when we're trying to connect dots and bring people on board.
I think that's such a valuable point. Is we talk a lot of times about mutual fit. And in my role as a franchise consultant, I'm really trying to understand, what are your superpowers as an entrepreneur? What are you uniquely designed for that's going to translate to success? And you know what? You can be an engineer for 15, 20 years and have a really awesome record of success. And there's going to be certain franchises that's going to be plug and play. You're going to be an awesome fit in that franchise brand. But then there's going to be others where that's not going to translate at all. That doesn't mean you can't go on to a different franchise system and have a ton of success. But that's what makes the good franchises long-term successful, is they're not churning and burning franchisees. They know who their fit is, and they're pretty strict about that. And they'll turn away people who are really, really talented.
Yeah.
But it's not a fit.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think every brand does that. And I think just for Art of Drawers specifically, like we're definitely not for everyone, like our brand, right? Like I talk to a lot of people who get really excited about the model and they love the products and Alan, and they enjoyed all the conversations. But if it's not the right fit, like they're not going to be happy 2-3 years down the road, right? The results aren't going to be there. We're not going to be thrilled. It's going to get ugly. And it's like, let's just try to nip this in the butt early on. But that's where that communication piece comes in. And for me, like it can be a little bit tough having those crucial conversations up front, but I don't want to take people through the process, and mislead them. And then I have them coming back to me, 2-3 years down the road, like what the hell, Spike, this wasn't what I signed up for. So I don't want to be that guy. So I'm totally cool with being the bad guy here at Rep'em if it's the right thing to do.
Sure. Well, and you mentioned Art of Drawers, and I've really enjoyed over the past couple of months getting to hear more about the ins and outs of this brand. So just at a high level, what is Art of Drawers and who makes a good franchisee in the system?
Yeah, great question. So Art of Drawers, it's a home service brand. We specialize in custom pull-out drawers for kitchens, pantries, bathrooms. We also do some refacing and some lighting, but basically the goal of our products and services is to create more access, more organization, and more space. So we're going into homes, we're designing custom solutions, right? We build and manufacture the drawers, we ship them out to our franchisees, and then they go do the installations. So the folks that we are looking for, I would say are folks who want to invest time and want to be in the business. So, it's the old term owner operator in franchising, but we want folks who are going to be in the business, build a great team, right? They have leadership skills. They want to build a team of designers and installers. They're connectors in the community. They're not afraid to get out and attend local events and do home shows. But the biggest role, I'd say 80% of your day-to-day with Art of Drawers is focused on sales and marketing and then building a team. So if you're a connector and you like building teams, and if you're someone who wants to get all into the weeds with operations and the operational efficiencies, like Art of Drawers is probably not the fit for you. We handle a lot of that behind the scenes at the corporate level, which is great. And then you can just come in and focus on growing and scaling.
That's helpful. And I love the idea of being a team builder, because we talk a lot of times the product and service of a franchise is important.
Yep.
But what's just as important is what are you doing on a day in and day out basis? And then we'll think about the actual ins and outs of the business. So I want you to bust a myth for me real quick, because for me, I'm not sitting at home thinking about, man, I need to organize my kitchen, or I'm really trying to optimize my whole home living situation. What that looks like for me is, man, I put on a couple pounds. I need to send some pants to Goodwill and redo my closet, right? That's not what you're doing. But obviously there's demand for this out there. So for someone like me, who maybe doesn't think about this type of product or service very frequently, what type of demand out there is there for Art of Drawers?
Yeah, it's funny, man, because trust me, I'm taking people through this process, and I'm the same way. We're both like the same age, right? We're 30-year-old guys. I'm like, I am not the most organized person by any means. I could definitely use this stuff in my home. But yeah, there is a lot of demand for it. And I think just for home services in general. But for us, like our sweet spot and our demos is that 45, 50 plus. Our average ticket's a little over $5,000. So, it's like 5,000 for some drawers. But there's a lot of people who want it, and a big piece of it is the accessibility. So if you start to look at some of the folks who are, in that 45, 50 plus range, accessibility is huge. Trying to get to your pots and pans that, maybe way down low or up high, you're reaching, bending, that can become an issue. So in a lot of these homes too, whether it's traditional homes looking to upgrade or some of these new builds, the drawers and external could look great, but there's not a lot of customization. So when you open the drawers, it's just kind of plain Jane, a lot of cookie cutter. So we can go in and retrofit into existing cabinets. We build out our drawers down to the millimeter. So I think there's a lot of demand for it. I mean, if you look at the closet space, there's, some massive closet companies. Everybody knows about California Closets by Design. Right now, we're still just educating folks that we can do what we do, because there's just not a whole lot of players in our space, which is exciting, because I think the future is really bright. And it's already starting to become more popular since COVID and the pandemic. And then social media, there's all these influencers. I don't know, I'm sure your wife, if she's into cooking and stuff, there's all sorts of folks who are putting stuff out on Instagram and TikTok. Again, that's not on my social media, but it's out there for sure. There's a lot of influencers who love this stuff.
Well, that's interesting, man, because again, I think we're probably consuming similar content when we got some downtime. We're listening to podcasts about sports or whatever, not organizing drawers. But tell us a little bit more. It sounds like this service offering is becoming more and more mainstream. So speak to that a little bit, and how did COVID accelerate the demand for home organization?
For sure. Yeah. So, and just quick back. So our founder, Alan Young, I know you know Alan, but he started a previous company probably 15 or 20 years ago. And he always tells people this story. He goes, 15 or 20 years ago, when we would show up at someone's home to come do a custom design and people see professional organizer, they would ask you to park down the street. They're like, hey, we don't want people to know in my neighborhood that I'm not organized, right? But now they're like, hey, pull up. They're like rolling out the red carpet. They want you to park in the driveway. Like, having a professional organizer is cool. So it's definitely becoming more and more popular. And with COVID, people just spend a lot more time in their homes now, working remote, working from home. And then social media, as that's grown with Instagram and TikTok, and those small nuggets, like those reels and the YouTube shorts or whatever it is, like those little bite-sized clips, have definitely played into the growth of our industry.
Yeah, certainly. No, that's helpful, man. We're here to stop the stigma around home organization. Park that thing right in the driveway, loud and proud, man. Let's hear it, right?
For sure.
That's
awesome.
Good. Well, hey, we just got a couple more minutes here. Anything I didn't ask that, about franchising, about yourself, about Art of Drawers that I didn't hit on that you think's worth mentioning?
No, I think we've touched on a lot of it. I'd just say, if there's, folks out there who, you seem like this might be something you're interested in, I'd love to talk with you and connect, get in touch with Brady, and then, we'll jump on a call, but I would love to dive into it more. I think it's a great opportunity, in a really cool industry, and our founder's excellent. The leadership team's great. So would love the opportunity to talk with folks for sure.
Awesome. Spike, appreciate your time, man. I know you're a Cubs fan. I'm a Reds fan.
Yeah.
So go Red Legs. It's funny, man. You can tell that Spike and I, that there's maybe some substance to our friendship, because I'm an Ohio State fan. He's a Michigan grad. He's a Cubs fan. I'm a Reds fan. But we'll put all that aside to put some content out here for you.
For sure. Definitely, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll talk later, Spike. Thanks.
All right. See you.